In my travels of doing a massive marathon of the Doctor Who series, I came across a strange and bizarre story, a historical, which is unusual for now, and it is set within the mighty empire of Marco Polo. I wonder if this John Lucarotti story was very well deserved of the show that we beloved from now on. Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Marco Polo by John Lucarotti. This is a 7-part story with every episode except for episode 4 being directed by Warwick Hussain and episode 4 being directed by John Crockett. Now, before I actually get into the episode, I need to explain the video quality of this episode. That is, that it has none, because it's a missing episode. Back in the 60s, videotape was very rare, and so what they used to do was reuse some of the videotape. Also, as well, it was a very flammable material they used, so most of them also burnt down. Sadly, the video on this episode, on all 7 episodes, are missing. However, the audio exists thanks to fans recording it. Now, there's a few ways you can actually watch missing episodes. The one that I use is by Loose Cannon. Now, Loose Cannon are a Doctor Who fan community that make reconstructions. What they do is they take the audio and they put it to pictures, and connect to the pictures. Now, with the Loose Cannon Marco Polo, what they did was really cool. They got the guy who played Marco Polo to do a sort of like a special intro, and then they used coloured photos to recreate the story. So this is actually in colour, depending on which version you watch. I'd also like to add as well that if you get the Edge of Destruction DVD, one of the special features is a cut down 30-minute version of Marco Polo. It's a reconstruction, however, it's in black and white. But if you are interested in this story and you wanted like a shorter version, you don't feel like watching 7 episodes, then I highly recommend you get this. So Marco Polo is the first what we call pure historical. Now what that means is that there's no monsters. The only sci-fi elements is the Doctor and the TARDIS, and here we explore the history of Marco Polo. Now, for those of you who don't know, Marco Polo, when he was an old man, he told his stories about when he used to live in Asia to a famous writer, and he said all about these grand adventures and how he was once like the right-hand man to the great Kublai Khan, and how he saw black rock burn, and there were mountains that seemed like they were singing. And loads of people thought that he was making this up because I can't remember what his job was, but he used to go around the world, and people thought he was making it up. However, later, when the East and the West were getting together, they actually discovered that most of the stuff that he says, I don't know if it was all, but most of it anyway, was actually true. And now Marco Polo is considered a historical figure. So this story is about Marco Polo. Now, like I said before, with the Daleks, because this is a 7-part story, I won't be really getting into story bit by bit. I'm more just talk about like a gradual storyline. So what happens at the start of this is that the Doctor, Susan, Ian and Barbara, they're stranded because the TARDIS is broken, thanks to the events of the Edge of Destruction, and they bump into obviously Marco Polo, a girl named P. King, who is a traveller who's going to see her husband of 80. I think she said she was 85. He was 85 years old, and Taranga, a warlord ambassador who is trying to sort peace with the great Kublai Khan. So they got to travel to Cathay, which is now in modern terms China. So most of the story is them just traveling with Marco Polo. Now, with the episodes before have been very tense. The Doctor and his companions are always in like a dire situation, always just focusing on survival. So it's really nice that this story kind of took a breath a bit and let our characters explore a bit more. And there's a lot of breathing room in this story. However, the Turanga, the warlord, thinks that they are evil spirits. Now, Turanga is a great villain. He could have been easily like a mustache twirling villain. However, he speaks very calmly, you know. He's like, Marco, these are evil spirits. You must destroy them. You know, he's thinking, and he's very clever as well. His plans, he actually lets the Doctor break into his TARDIS at one point, and then he convinces Marco Polo that the Doctor's in there, and he's just had very good plans. Now Marco Polo sees the TARDIS and believes that it can fly, and what he plans to do is give it to the Kublai Khan, the TARDIS, so that the Khan could let him go back to Italy, because that's where he's from. And during this time, the Kublai Khan wasn't letting him go to Italy because he valued Marco Polo so much. They were like closest friends. So that's our main story through episodes 1 to 5. It's a shame here that Barbara gets very little to do, seeing as she's the history teacher of the crew. There's very little that she does except for just agreeing with the rest of the cast. Ian's become sort of the leader of the crew. He is very greedy, and he becomes like Marco Polo's best friend between us. He's the negotiator between our TARDIS crew and Marco Polo, and they got great chemistry together. You could really see that they have a bond. There's a lot of dynamic between them, and the Doctor is he's just very grouchy in this story. There's a great bit where he just won't talk to Marco Polo because of the way he's treating them, not letting them get into the TARDIS. And there's a bit where Susan gives him his food, and she comes back crying. She puts the food down and she's like, I'm sorry, and then she runs back out. So there's a lot of grouchy. The Doctor's still grouchy in this, despite his story arc in The Edge of Destruction. He's still the Doctor that we knew him from the past few episodes. Maybe he's not as grouchy. He won't betray his companions this time. They are now very close. However, he's still a lovable bastard. Susan befriends the girl Peking, and they become the kind of the child of the crew. They have mischief. They giggle at inappropriate times. They wander off. There's a bit where Susan and the other girl go and see what Turanga is doing, and they wander off and they get stuck in a blizzard. And they are definitely, in this story, the kids of the crew. They get into mischief, and the older characters, especially Ian, Barbara, and Marco Polo, they shout at them, they tell them to behave, basically. You can see there's a very parent-kid dynamic between them, with the Doctor being the lovable grandfather. There's a bit where they have to save him, and when they come back, they're like, the Doctor will not hear about this because he's sleeping at the moment. Don't tell him about this because he would bloody have a heart attack. I thought that was pretty funny. So episodes 6 and 7 have them entering at Kublai Khan's palace, and the way they build up the Khan makes it sound like he's like this fierce warlord. And there's a great, because it's the scene starts off with getting explained that they need to bow down before him, but the Doctor obviously can't because he's old and he hurts his back trying to bow down. And the Khan comes out, and he's also like in pain, and he's very grouchy as well. And you can see that they have a lot they're very grouchy, and they like sort of like banter at each other to begin with. like they're both very angry at each other, but then they get along, playing what all people do, playing like chess kind of game. I can't remember what the game was, but they play Bang-Chi, I think it was called, Bang-Chi. You know what I'm on about with the arrows and the circles. They play that, and these people, I just love these guys together. William Hartnell and the guy who plays the Khan, they have some great moments, even though they are not in it together that much. They do have some great moments. Marco Polo himself is a great character. He's torn between his trust for Ian and his trust for Turanga. Now, there's a lot of great moments where Turanga actually convinces Marco Polo that they can't be trusted, basically. Like, he takes the key off the doctor, but the doctor secretly has a secret one, and Turanga finds out, but he doesn't like tell Marco Polo straight away. He kind of lets the doctor go into his own TARDIS, and then let Marco Polo discover it for himself. That was very clever. You never see like a villain like that anymore. However, the resolution of that was really clever. The doctor gets ill, and Marco Polo lets him get into the TARDIS so he can rest. But because of the condensation, because it was so cold last in the night and so warm now, all the water was coming through the TARDIS, and they could get water. And when the doctor tells Marco Polo about what's happened and how they got the water, he doesn't believe him at first, thinking that they might have been hiding water. But then he does slowly start to believe him, and they get to the oasis, and Turanga comes up with this lie that there were bandits and stuff. So Turanga was a very great villain. And Turanga's fight at the end with Marco Polo would have been a brilliant with Warwick Hussein's directing. However, like I said, we can only see pictures of it. Another thing we've got to talk about this episode are the sets. Now, the pictures make this look absolutely amazing. The rumour is that when they were making the Edge of Destruction, it had to be cheap because Marco Polo was just so expensive with all those sets, and they didn't have enough time to run it straight away, so that's why we got Edge of Destruction. Now, from what I can gather, that's a lie. They'd only had a certain set of episodes to begin with, and then when the Daleks came out, BBC commissioned more episodes, and that's how we got Marco Polo and the rest of season 1. So that's how we got Marco Polo. But I would have really loved to see this play out with video. I think this would have been a much better episode if we actually saw the visuals. With Warwick Hussein, with this high budget, seeing as he proved himself with the Unearthly Child and Tribe of Gum, I think he would have done fantastic here. I'm really sad that we don't have these episodes anymore. And that's Marco Polo. John Lucarotti did a fantastic story here. He did a lot of research into Marco Polo's life. A lot of bits of it, I think, were actually taken from the book that was based around him, like the Cave of Thousand Eyes. That was a brilliant episode in and on itself. I think it was the focus of episode 4 or episode 3. I can't remember, but it's one of those. And the Singing Sands, which was the one where he was telling people that the music of the mountains made it sound like there was somebody calling your name from the distance, which is apparently an actual place, which I'd love to see that. But anyway, John Lucarotti did a fantastic story here, and I'm just so sad that we didn't get it. The 7 episodes seemed very well written. I couldn't see them cutting this. They did cut it down. A lot of elements could have been cut down, but I'm glad that they did. It made it feel really more like a drama, and our characters get explored very well. However, if you don't want to see 7 episodes of basically the Doctor having a history lesson, I do recommend the 30-minute version on the Edge of Destruction DVD. It's a lot shorter, it's a lot more narrow focused, and I think it's a lot more enjoyable anyway. But I personally prefer the loose cannon version. Now, you can find other versions everywhere. I'm sure there's like a few animated ones on YouTube. You can watch them all for free until we actually get the actual DVD of the video, which I doubt. The BBC seemed that they don't really mind people using the copyrighted material of the audio, as long as they're not making money out of it. So there you go. That's Marco Polo. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time when we go back into some Big Finish audio dramas next time. So I'll see you then in the Doctor Who Marathon. I'll see you all later in the Doctor Who Marathon.